All right. Happy Friday, Rochelle. How are you today?
Hey, I'm awesome.
Great. Well, again, my name is Andrew Obrecht from EO Calgary, and I'm here with Rochelle today. And I'll let you jump in, maybe introduce yourself and let us know where you're coming from.
Okay, so I work with Amanda Hamilton, interior design. I'm sure you've seen her in her flashy outfits up on stage often enough. And I am director of operations and accounts.
Amazing. And obviously today we are talking about KLF Forum, Key Leader Forum within EO. It's a great ecosystem to support not only the EO entrepreneurs that are themselves in EO, but some of their top top people within their companies and second in commands, top leadership. Maybe tell me a little bit more about what KLF has been for you, where it came up, and maybe a little bit of your experience with it so far.
Okay, this is my second year into the forum, and I didn't know really what to expect, as with, I'm sure, a lot of EO members. When you take that first forum training, some of it's information that you've never heard before. Um, so I feel like I was open, but I really didn't know what I was going to get out of it. And I really lucked out. My forum is like a little family, and we hit the ground running really quickly, which, given the fact that we were on Zoom and have barely had a chance to meet in person, I think is quite a feat. But the way that I've grown, not just professionally but personally, has far exceeded my expectations when I first signed up.
That's amazing. And part of that, I think that it's a really untapped resource for the entrepreneurs that are in EO, and I feel like maybe you feel the same way. So, as someone that's been part of KLF and looking at the opportunity, I mean, what do you have to say about that? What would you tell the EO members right now, as far as kind of the impact that KLF has had on you, both on your personal but also professional side within the Amanda Hamilton group?
I would think one of the things that comes first to mind is if you're a company that has at all implemented the EOS system. That was something that was coming like quite top down from Amanda. She was just getting started with it. And when you're hearing it from your boss, you're kind of like, okay, like I'm trying to catch your passion.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing was when I started hearing it from the other members of my group, not all of them, but um, you catch the fire a little bit more when it's your colleagues who have gone, you know what, I've actually learned how to implement this, because I mean, truly the integrators are the ones who implement the grand ideas. And so I was really motivated by those around me to dig into that further, and then to bring that back to Amanda and really like have more of a partnership, as opposed to when she was trying to feed it down to me
Mhm.
in a lovely way, but you don't grasp it quite the same way. And so I think that's the biggest thing I would say that has been really impactful for me in my career.
Yeah, I mean, as entrepreneurs, especially with EO, we'll go to conferences or talks or speakers, and we'll come back and be so excited with all these new concepts and so on, and speak to you, you guys. And I'm sure sometimes you're like, okay, here we go again.
Yeah,
Trying to
yeah,
trying to
and you're like, how do I
grasp it.
do that?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And they try to rehearse the same seminar that we just spent 5 hours going through. So that's amazing. And then, with regards to that, I think maybe there's a fear sometimes that this is just a group that our leaders get together and bitch about the CEOs and so on. And I'm sure there's a support group kind of mentality at that, and our I think our senior leaders maybe sometimes do need a support group from us. But what's been your experience on that regard? Maybe dissipating some of that mentality of a fear of getting some of our senior leaders into KLF.
Yeah, I can truthfully say that that's a very rare occurrence. And maybe this isn't a great thing, but we spend very little time talking about our CEOs. Really, what we dig into a lot is more the teams that we manage. So I would say that it's how to become better leaders, I mean, yes, there is a little bit of how do we disseminate that information from the CEO and be the true integrator and spread that out amongst our organizations in a clear and succinct way. So there's obviously a connection that happens there, but no, there's not a lot of bitching and complaining in that sense.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. Relieving.
You can breathe
you
a
know,
sigh of relief.
well, that's awesome. And I see Amanda's looking at you from across the way, just judging what you're saying. I'm just kidding. You're following the script.
She's standing right over here saying like, say
you're
this.
You're following the script perfectly. So it's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, you going on kind of 2 years, why do you think that a KLF forum is so important? Not only for you as a senior leader within your organization, but also as the entrepreneur that has some really great talent that they want to continue to grow. What do you think? Why do you think KLF is so important?
I think the transformation that I've seen in myself is I've gone from, I think I always felt quite comfortable in a second in command seat, but there was a little bit of, I think it's kind of like, but this isn't my problem because it's not my business. Mm-hmm. And I learned this term fairly recently. Many of you may have heard it, but I fell in love with it, is intrapreneur. Mm-hmm. I always knew like I'm not an entrepreneur, but I have the heart of one in certain senses. And so when that term intrapreneur was presented to me, I was like, that's it. And so it's really caused me to step up and to see myself as more of a partner towards that end goal of loving the company, obviously loving Amanda. So I would say that's probably one of my biggest takeaways is I felt a mindset transformation.
That's awesome. And then I guess like a quick question with regards to like the commitment. So what does it look like to you on a monthly basis or weekly basis? What does that look like to you as far as like commitment being a member of a KLF forum?
So the commitment is similar to the EO forum groups where, you're setting aside half a day once a month. You've got to do that prep homework. So it's not excessive. However, it still is very intentional. As with, I think most of us who get a lot out of the groups, you're spending time kind of like creating this log of things in the back of your mind. Like, oh my gosh, I need to bring this up at my next check-in. So I still feel that within the month, I'm engaged mentally because I'm trying to make sure that I'm coming prepared with my most, to get the most out of it, you really need to be the most vulnerable. And that does take kind of some attention throughout the month. But in terms of a time commitment, it is just that one meeting. But I really look forward to it. I mean, we just get so much out of it that it doesn't feel like a drag. But if you come into it going, oh, I can't set aside this time, like I'm so busy, that's not going to benefit the rest of the group either. Like you do need to step up to the commitment for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, really good advice. And then on that part of like advice, what advice would you give to someone that's interested in KLF or EO entrepreneur that is potentially interested in having one of their leaders in the group? What would you recommend?
I would say just the opportunity and as a EO member, present the opportunity to whomever is your integrator and try and read their reaction. I think if there's a little bit of a resistance, it just might not be the right time because like I said, you really need to put your heart into it. But if there's a little bit of curiosity and some big growth that can happen, then I think it might need to be one of those things where you just kind of like shove them off the cliff into a wonderful oblivion.
That's awesome. Love that. Just shove them. And we try to kind of keep these things as brief as possible so that the members can listen and digest the information. I think we covered a lot of really great insights on KLF today. Is there anything else that you would have in mind that you would want to say about KLF?
I think the biggest thing is just I've had many conversations with other EO members and they often had kind of heard of it but weren't really sure. And I think the biggest thing is that if you aren't sure, dig in and ask, because I think the value to your company is huge. And I think maybe there's just a little bit more of a spark that needs to catch in terms of this program, because it really is amazing.
That's awesome. And then as the last question that I have for you today is, what's the best piece of advice that you've received?
I don't know if I can think of a specific piece of advice as much as a moment that happened for me. It was, as you know, there's a presentation that happens most weeks. And so I did a presentation about a crux that I was at in terms of a little bit of a shift within my position. It was pretty major of a decision. And I was just stuck, just completely roadblocked. And the clarity that I came out of that with, and have never looked back since with the decision that I made, is completely owed to the wisdom that my group shared with me.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, we'll take it. We'll take that as a good answer. That's awesome. Well, again, Rachelle, it was so nice to have you on our video podcast. That is a once in a while kind of thing. And so great to have you. I know that I saw you yesterday at one of the EO events, which was really great. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. It was fun.